Hello everyone, welcome to the first episode of our Tradeware Cloud Coffee Talk. This is Matthias, my name is Roger, and the topic of today is virtual cloud networks. Hey Matthias, recently I talked to a customer and for him it's extremely painful sometimes to create new network environments. How is that in the cloud?
Good question. There are two aspects you have to look at. First aspect is the planning phase. So you have to think before what kind of networks you want, address ranges, IP ranges, whatever, subnets and so on. And that's the same regardless whether you want to deploy in your data center or if you want to deploy in the cloud. However, the second aspect, really deploy that stuff, that's much different because in the cloud it's much faster, much easier, but hey, why talk? Let's do it. Now let's find out if it's really quick and easy. What we see here on the screen is the landing page of the Oracle Cloud Infrastructure console. So that's the place from where we control all the resources in the cloud, create, delete, manage, and so on. If I click on here, you see the main topics of the cloud, and of course we are interested in networking. And as we click on that, it unfolds into a lot of subtopics that care about network issues. And what we are interested in is, of course, virtual cloud network. As we see here on the virtual cloud networks in Coffee Talk compartment page, it's empty. So nothing here at the moment. And here we want to deploy our new network environment. The quickest and easiest way is to use a wizard that helps us to create that VCN. So I click on it and it says create VCN with internet connectivity. Now to define what we want to do, I have set up a few requirements which I wrote down here. So that's what we want to implement, a VCN with a certain address range, a big one here that covers 65,000 IP addresses, and then two subnets, much smaller, that are part or within that VCN CIDR, a public one, meaning potentially can talk to the internet, and a private one, which definitely has no internet access, so which will be used for resources that have some security requirements above the normal.
And all these definitions, that was phase one. So in the planning, you define what you will configure later
Exactly,
on.
that corresponds to the planning phase. So you first have to think about what you want to do. And from here, we go to the second phase, which is really to deploy that stuff. So starting the wizard, and it's checking if everything is okay to start deploying a VCN, which it is. So we start with the name, which we have seen, then configure the VCN itself. So taking the address I specified in the requirements, the CIDR range. And actually it's really free. You can select whatever you want. The cloud has no limits or special requirements regarding the address ranges you can implement. Then configure public subnet. So here we of course have a subrange, and it's also much smaller. It will be able to hold 256 addresses. And as you have seen, there are some red texts that disappear once you have a valid entry here. So the cloud is checking while you type, if it makes sense what you type. So just to help you. So for the private subnet, we take an other starting point and same size. So a network that will be able to hold about 256 IP addresses. And that's all for the moment. So not much more that is asked at this point. So click on next, and now the cloud gives us a summary what it will create. So we can check again, name is okay, address, the CIDR block is okay. I have two subnets, public and private subnet with its corresponding CIDR blocks. And here you see there is already some additional stuff coming in. So it talks here about security list, which basically is firewall rules and route tables. And also we see additional resources that will be created, gateways like the internet gateway. So that will be used by the public subnet if it wants to talk to the internet, and also gateways that are more towards internal services of the cloud. And of course we see two subnets and a separate security list, because the public subnet and the private subnet most likely will have different requirements regarding the firewall rules. Same for the route tables. They're not necessarily the same route entries for the both subnets. So if I'm happy with that, we can go and start create of the whole thing. And as you see, there are the different resources that are mentioned here. Most of them are already created, and now it's only updating something in the subnet, and it's done. So that was phase 2, where on-prem you might have hours, days, weeks, who knows. That was half a minute here to deploy the whole thing. And now we can also look at it.
Quick and easy.
Quick and easy, yeah. And yes, here we see the VCN. Again, we see the name is correct. We have on the left side a lot of additional resources that will help to fine-tune all the things if you need to. And the most important thing, the subnets here. So we have our public subnet, private subnet, so we will be ready to deploy now resources into the networks.
When we deploy resources like databases, then you most probably would deploy it in the private subnet.
Correct.
And while you were creating, it creates the security list, firewall rules automatically. Did it already opened the 1521 port for Oracle databases?
No, it didn't, because the cloud doesn't know what you're going to do in that subnet. So it's not going to open anything that maybe is not used. It's not about security, but I can show you how easy it is to adjust now. So, I mean, it's cloud, it's agile, it's dynamic, it's online, so we can go here, we go to our private subnet, see here. We see here the security list, so we open the security list for that private subnet. And we see, no, there is no rule that would allow port nowhere 5021. So we do it, just add rule, add an incoming rule, so, and we say we take the VCN. Whenever it comes from within that VCN we created, then it should allow that access. So any client anywhere in that VCN can use port 5021 to access the database in that subnet.
So from the public subnet, for example, can then access the database.
Like a web server that accesses the database. So add this additional rule, and now we're all done. We see the source is the VCN and the destination port is 5021. So if we deploy database here, access will be granted if you use port 1521. So,
and I mean, the VCN still have some available IP addresses.
correct.
Can we add new subnets?
Of course, that is a very easy operation. We see a VCN, we can click create subnet. So let's say we need another private one that just has a different IP range. So give it any name, another subnet. We give it a cyber block. So let's say 50 and same size, 256 addresses. We say it's a private subnet. Here we have to define a route table. So we take the same we use for the other private subnet. Then we have that's just the standard selection and security lists. We could have defined another one, special one for that subnet, or if we are happy with the existing private subnet rules, so we could also now automatically, of course, deploy databases that are accessible because it will use the same security list. And that's all. Just do it, and it's creating, takes a few seconds. And then we have a third subnet active. Quick and easy.
That was really quick and easy. Thank you very much, Matthias, for the demo. That was episode 1. Could you give me a hint what we will cover in episode 2?
Of course I can. Now we created a network, so next episode will be deploy something in that network. So we will look at how to create fast and easy a Linux virtual machine.
Cool. Looking forward to it. Thanks for watching and see you next time.